Welcome to one of C-SPAN's Google Plus Hangouts. We're talking with delegates throughout the week to hear about their experiences and what they hope to accomplish during this convention. We have a couple of Northeasters here with us today, as well as someone who's joined us from Indianapolis. Let's start out with Mayor Dan Drew from Middletown, Connecticut. Tell us what you hope to get out of this week.
I want to see, and I expect that we will see certainly, the president and our party lay forth a vision of continued success. We are so much farther ahead today than where we were in January of 2009 when the president took over. The economy was hemorrhaging 700,000 jobs a month, and for the last 29 months we've had continuous job growth. Al-Qaeda is significantly weakened, and this country is on the path toward greater prosperity every day under this president's leadership. So I'm looking forward to a discussion about where we're going to go, because it's only going to continue to get stronger under this president.
Mayor Drew, what kinds of things are you hearing about from people in your community? What are their fears, and what kind of a message should President Obama have? There's some question about whether he should say, hey, you may not be better off than you were 4 years ago, but still have faith in me. How do you balance that message? What should he do?
I think we are better off than we were 4 years ago. And if you stop and think about it, I mean, look at a community like mine, a mid-sized city of 50,000 people in Connecticut. It's a middle-class city. In a lot of ways, it's a working-class city. It's a beautiful community. And we actually were able to keep our firefighters employed. We were able to keep our teachers employed. We were able to keep some of our infrastructure projects going because of this president. And that actually really helped advance our local economy. And it enabled us to continue growing our local economy in a way that we wouldn't have had we returned to the Bush-era policies. That's where Romney and Ryan want to take us, and I'm very excited about this president continuing for another 4 years, because I know that at the local level, it's going to help me and other city officials like me continue to move our cities forward. And that's where the rubber meets the road. It's on the ground. That ground-up mentality is one of the reasons that this president has been so successful, and I know that's where we're going to keep going.
Joe Caiazzo from Stoneham, Massachusetts. You're the youngest delegate with the Massachusetts delegation. Do you even remember when Governor Romney was governor of your state? Were you? Tell us about what you know about him and his time there.
Well, the governor was elected in 2002. I was a sophomore in high school then. I didn't become politically active until 2006. But it was it was the candidacy of Governor Patrick, which basically really lit the fire under me. The Romney policies for the 4 years for the Commonwealth were absolutely, detrimental to growth. He was 47th in the nation in, making jobs. He spent the second half of his term basically traveling the country, bashing, Massachusetts and campaigning for the White House. I believe he holds the record for most amount of days outside of the state, any governor in the history of the Commonwealth. That's definitely one fact that you will not hear the Romney campaign talk about at absolutely any time during the fall campaign season.
Well, let's hear from another young delegate, or really he's a page to the convention. George Hornedo is here from Indianapolis, and you told me that you were especially inspired by one of the men who'll be speaking here this week. Tell us your story and about your Texas connection.
All right, so I'm very excited to see all of the speakers this week. President Obama, Vice President Biden, Bill Clinton, but I would probably say I'm most excited for Mayor Julian Castro, and that's because before I moved to Indianapolis in the middle of 8th grade, I used to live in San Antonio, Texas. And I've actually known of Julian Castro and his brother Joaquin since the 5th grade, when 2002 I won my school spelling bee. I wasn't in then Councilman Castro's district, but he still sent me a congratulatory note telling me how proud he was of me. So ever since then, I've followed his career and the career of his brother Joaquin, and I've been a fan of theirs, and they've been role models ever since. So I think it means a lot, to me personally, and I think it means a lot to the Latino community to be able to see Mayor Julian Castro up there speaking and outlining the vision that he's putting forth for San Antonio and that President Obama's putting forth for the rest of the country. And also I wanted to add, based on what the mayor was saying about, part of why President Obama has been so successful, and I think it's because he really believes in and understands the American promise. That if you work hard and act responsibly, you can find a good job with a decent wage and good benefits, save up for a home, retire securely, and leave your kids off a little better than they were. And so that's why I think that we're moving forward, and I hope that we have another 4 years to be able to make progress.
How important, George, is it for you to see young people, not just part of the convention, but also up there on the stage, young leaders, young mayors, young members of Congress? What does it say to you?
I mean, it's absolutely important to see other young people here at the convention, other young people speaking at the convention. In fact, today, here in the Indiana delegation, we have Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's the mayor of South Bend. And Pete Buttigieg is only 30 years old, the youngest mayor of a city with over 100,000 people. And he was talking today a lot about, what he's trying to do in South Bend and the importance of getting involved. And so seeing another, young American like him putting himself out there, getting involved in public service, giving back to his community, it's inspiring. And I think that we need more people to be able to do that.
And let's hear from another gentleman from Connecticut, Shawn Wooden, Council President of the City of Hartford. Mr. Wooden, you've been to conventions before. How important are they to the party?
The conventions are very important to the party. Obviously, decades ago, you walked into a convention, you didn't know who was necessarily going to be the nominee. That's changed. But the party, the convention is very important in terms of firing up the base. Everyone knows 2008, a lot of hope, a lot of excitement around the candidacy of President Obama or then Senator Obama. And the country's been hurting. And so I, in fact, think this convention is even more important to the base of our party, firing us up, reminding us of why it's so important to reelect President Obama and Vice President Biden. So this convention, this week, the energy, the enthusiasm is important as we go out into the fall, as we draw the contrast. Romney, Ryan, I see it as Bush Cheney on steroids. And so the significance of this election could not be more important to communities like mine, urban communities that are hurting in America. We're looking at jobs. Mayor Drew has talked about kind of the steady job growth. So I see this very much as a halftime moment, a time to re-energize the party, remind us of our big tent, the hope, the values, and what we see going forward. And so I'm very much looking forward to the coming days and hearing from leaders in our party.
We're getting to hear from a lot of young men, young Democrats, and young leaders. Mayor Drew, what is the message for men? I mean, we've seen that the president's working really hard to gain the approval ratings of women, but how does he reach out to men?
Libby, I'm really glad you asked that question because the pundits love to slice and dice the electorate into these little pieces. But the real truth is that at the end of the day, no matter which state you're from, whether it's a red state or a blue state, whether you're a man or a woman, we're all after the same things. We want economic security. We want job opportunities for our communities. We want good health insurance, and we want good education for our children. Men want that. Women want that. Everybody wants that. And that's the beauty of this presidency. President Obama gets that. He gets that unifying this country instead of trying to drive it apart is the important thing. And I think what men in the United States hopefully understand, and I believe they understand, is that this administration has carried forth policies and will continue to carry forth policies that are going to lead to economic growth. They're going to lead to stronger communities. And they're going to lead to better opportunities for our children in the educational field and when they come out of school and end up going into the workforce themselves. I have 3 little ones myself, and one of the reasons I am so enthusiastic about this president is that I know he's going to set the policies today and over the next 4 years that will help them become prosperous when they graduate from school and enter the workforce ultimately. So I'm very excited about the opportunities here in the future, and I think men see that as well.
And Joe, how is the president going to motivate your friends to get out and vote? You're 25 years old from the state of Massachusetts. What's the message that's going to not just make your friends support the president, but actually vote on Election Day?
Well, I mean, I think one of the big things is, there still is hope. Young people now still do have the hope that we had, back 4 years ago. Things have definitely gotten much better since I graduated college in 2009. People are seeing this, a boost in income, the fact they're able to get interviews for jobs, they're actually, getting jobs in their field. There has been, pretty substantial progress over the course of the last 4 years. Governor Romney is very well known around the Commonwealth, and he's also very well known for his, lack of support of young people. And we are better off than we were, 4 years ago. And I think that no better, generation understands that than ours. because of the fact that we came out in the worst economy, in probably 70 years, where, people working at CBS, and they're waiting tables. These are people who have masters. Now they're able to actually go and land jobs in their field.
George, tell us about your experiences this week. It's just Tuesday. We haven't seen the convention really kick into full gear yet, but there's still a lot of events happening. What have you been attending?
Well, I've been able to attend all the receptions and breakfasts and everything with the Indiana delegation. So it's been really great to meet a lot of other Democrats from across the state. Outside of that, yesterday I was able to go to this movie screening of this movie coming out September 28th called Won't Back Down. And it was hosted by Students First, an education reform group founded by Michelle Reed, which I actually used to work with, by Democrats for Education Reform, and by Parent Revolution, which is a new group that is really pushing the parent trigger, trying to get that across the country, but started out in California. And so at that event, they had Michelle Reed speaking. They had Joe Williams, the executive director of Democrats for Education Reform, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who's a big advocate for public education and is doing a lot of great work in LA around that. He spoke. Mayor Kevin Johnson of Sacramento. So it was really good to be able to see that the different perspectives in education reform going on around the country, from public servants, from mayors, elected officials, and to nonprofit executives, et cetera, and to community members. So I had a lot of fun with that.
Where are you talking to us from right now, George?
I'm actually in the Indiana Democratic State Party, hotel office right now. So, people are filing in and out. I'm sorry if it's a little loud.
No, it gives us a sense of the environment and what your experience is like.
Yeah, people are getting their credentials, excited for the speeches tonight, excited to see Mayor Castro, excited to see the First Lady. So, the energy's high.
And Shawn,
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Sure, let me try that again, Shawn.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, good. I was asking you, since you've been to conventions before, who is this really put on for? Is it about energizing the delegates so you can go back and do work back home? Is it about doing this for the TV cameras and the reporters so that the rest of America can see it?
Well, I think the answer is both. Certainly energizing the base of the party is important going into the fall elections, but presenting a view of the Democratic Party to a national audience, Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike, is extremely important in terms of messaging. And so, I'm very excited about our lineup for speakers. President Bill Clinton, there's nobody better in terms of making the case for the Democratic Party, for America, for progress. Very excited about Julian Castro. And so I think the message that we send nationally is very important, setting the tone for the fall election.
And how important is it, Shawn, that Americans look at the Sea of Delegates and see a multicultural group of people? And how important is it that you, the delegates, look on stage and see people of all race, people of different genders, different ages represented there?
I think it's very important. And as an African American, I love seeing the images of our party in our national conventions, the diversity, the big tent, the bringing people together from all walks of life, all faiths. That's great, and that's something I cherish about our party. And it's quite the contrast when you look at the Republican Party convention.
All right, well, final thoughts. We'll start with Shawn Wooden, who, as I mentioned, is the council president for the city of Hartford. Give us your final thoughts about this as things get ready to launch. What are you most looking forward to, or how are you feeling about it in general?
I'm looking forward to just the energy level. I already feel it, and as we go through the next 3 days or so, that will only intensify. I'm looking forward to the president, the vice president, first lady, our other speakers reminding the base of the party, reminding America of why we as Democrats, we're different, why our vision for the future of this country is different. It's about bringing people together. It's about economic security. It's about job growth. It's about protecting the working class, working Americans. I'm very much looking forward to this opportunity this week for our party to remind America of why we're special and why our president deserves to be reelected.
Mayor Dan Drew of Middleton, go right ahead.
I'm looking forward to hearing from our president, our leader, on Thursday evening as he lays out the case for what he's done for America in the last 4 years. It's been an incredibly strong amount of growth that we've had, and what's going to happen in this country in the next 4 years. The Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan team has proposed, and they haven't even been shy about it, they want to gut Medicare and create a voucher system, which would decimate seniors' ability to get health care. They want to privatize Social Security, and they want to raise taxes on the middle class so they can cut taxes for the wealthiest Americans. President Obama already lowered taxes for the middle class. Al-Qaeda is weakened. We have a stronger economy today than we did 4 years ago, and I can't wait to hear the president lay out where we're going to be in the next 4 years, and I'm very confident in this president and the job that he's going to continue to do for us.
Joe Caiazzo of Massachusetts, what do you want to leave here with at the end of this week?
Very, very much looking forward to seeing how, the Obama-Biden ticket totally plans to move the country forward. This is not, this is an administration that definitely values seniors, students, and veterans. Unlike Mitt Romney, the man who thought that they should let the, GM fail. They want to move us backwards. We want to move us forward. Mitt Romney has no track record of actual having progress in the public sector. His term as governor was a complete disaster, low job creation. President Obama and Vice President Biden have worked extremely hard over the course of the last 3.5 years to move us forward. And it's really important. It's really important that every delegate, leaves here fired up, ready to go home and talk to their friends and neighbors, turn people out to the polls in November.
And George Hornedo, we'll get some final thoughts from you. And just pinging off of what Joe said, is it more important to have a message that's pro-President Obama, Vice President Biden, or anti-Romney-Ryan ticket? What's the message that you want to hear?
I think it's pro-President Obama. I mean, we need to defend all the great work that he's done. And so that's what I was going to say. We're going to see a lot of great speeches this week. We're going to hear the vision that President Obama and all the other speakers are outlining for the country. And, we need to compare that to what was said at the RNC. But also, we have to look beyond the speeches and look at policy. Look at what's actually done. Look at the numbers. President Obama keeps his promises. You look at where his investment's been. He's invested a lot in public education. He's done a lot in the realm of housing. He's done a lot around immigration reform with the recent deferred actions. He's a defender of women's rights, of LGBT rights. Look at Romney-Ryan. They're on the opposite side of every single issue. They're going to cut public education. They're going to change Medicare as we know it. They're going to privatize Social Security. They're wrong on every issue. And so I think people really need to look beyond the words and the rhetoric. It's exciting. It gets the base fired up. But look at the numbers. Look at the data. Look at the policy. And I think the choice is clear.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our Google Plus Hangout. It's been a pleasure hearing from you, and thanks for sharing your perspective here at the Democratic Convention in Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.